We're here today to talk about building integrated and inclusive cities, and we've assembled a rather wonderful all-female panel, which just goes to show that there's expertise all over the place. Isn't that an astonishing concept?
I think we have a sense that actually across different indicators, across different sectors, if you come from an ethnic minority background or if you come from disadvantaged background, whether you're looking at class, whether you're looking at disadvantage as a result of gender, your outcomes are not equal to, let's say, if you're looking at race, if you're from BME compared to white British, if you're looking at gender, women compared to men, if you're looking at class, working class compared to middle, wealthier classes. But what does this data mean in terms of integration and inclusion? I think what it really indicates is that we shouldn't just have a samosa, saris and steel band version of integration and inclusion. We have to have an understanding of the structures and how they operate for different groups in our society.
But what does rights mean in terms of a city? How do we interpret that in our places? And David Harvey has commented many times on this. His work is about this. He says the right to the city is far more than individual liberty to access urban resources. It is a right to change ourselves by engaging with the city. And this is beautiful because it shows that this isn't just about having access to housing, having access to energy, education, work that the city offers. This is deeply personal, and it's deeply about our rights to thrive in the world. Moreover, he argues it is a common rather than individual right, since this transformation inevitably depends on the exercise of a collective power to reshape the process of urbanisation. So it should be within all of our rights, within all of our power to reshape the place that we live in together. And it's really important when we come back to the idea of who is everyone, that we understand that everyone includes multiple identities, and that if we do not, and that we must be explicit about naming those multiple identities, because if we are not explicit about it, we design for white, cis, middle class, male. And once we can start with those definitions, we can start to deconstruct them, we can start to understand what they mean for our practice.
Team, and one of the rules I have is that when I put people on the stage for TEDx, so I curate maybe like 25 speakers a year, that I absolutely 9 times out of 10 or 90% of the time will not have marginalised people, people of colour, people from the trans or the LGBT community, talking on the stage about race or gender or oppression or inequality or Black History Month, or many other things that we're taught to kind of hear from communities that are seen as the fringe or diverse, and I'll talk more about that later. When you have more people talking around the same issue, and that's just a really, really simple example, you can start to get insights that you never ever expected. And I would say that we really need to wipe the slate clean with what we mean about this inclusive future, and actually get some more people in the conversation, and we need to be more radical and more bold about what this looks like. We need to figure out what we don't know about what we don't know. We need to get there, yet we're nowhere close to it. And I don't think that it's okay that we keep using excuses in 2017, any of us, that we are not making space, recognising our own privilege and power, moving out the way, and bringing people who are different to us and talented into positions of power and influence, and not just being consulted.
The vision of inclusive growth, and again, other people call it different things, economic justice, social justice, a number of others. But for me, language is important, but in a way, I think it's about really defining the model and stripping away the structural barriers that enable, or that inhibit rather, this shared prosperity, this access to opportunity, whether it's along social lines, so different particular groups, women, disabled people, BME, whatever it might be, or along spatial lines, and then thinking about the different geographies, again, whether that's local, regional, national, international. It's about breaking down those barriers, and it's about shifting away from a grow now, redistribute later approach to inclusivity or to equality, to a fairer society. I think we need to hold ourselves, and particularly our city leaders, to task, so that whilst you need to start somewhere, there is one thing that you must not do, and that's first turn to relabeling your existing activity and call it inclusive growth, or call it integration, or call it whatever. And we're seeing that time and again, and I think that's the most dispiriting thing for me.
When you have poor public infrastructure, when you have a deeply unequal society, when you have people that cannot afford childcare, cannot afford to eat, that it affects every part of your society, all the way from your service staff right through to progression of different genders and more marginalised people through your business. It affects so many different things.
We shouldn't at all have a deficit model of communities or people. That actually the people are our biggest resource, and we need to recognise that and think of where the blockages are that prevent them from flourishing, and that it's not about charity, but it's about recognising that our biggest resource as a country is our population, and how can we ensure that they have the ability to participate and flourish in the best way.